long day today. I cordially welcome you all to this dialogue on transformative leadership. Today we have got in the morning session our keynote presenter, Mr. Nazimur Rahman, Principal Secretary, and we have got a few distinguished panelists. Firstly, Dr. Kamal Abdul Nasir Chaudhary, former Principal Secretary, then Barrister Nehal Kabir, who is the Chairperson of Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, then Dr. Atir Rahman, who is former Governor of Bangladesh Bank, and we have two more distinguished panelists yet to join us. Mr. Mohammed Sadiq, Chairman of Public Service Commission, and also Mr. Masud Ahmed, former Comptroller and Auditor General, by panelists, and then the floor will be open for discussion, questions, and comments from the participants. So this is the format, and then we will have remarks from our guest of honors present here today, Honorable Cabinet Secretary. We have got our another distinguished panelist here, only one missing. So you see, our overall theme is transformative leadership, and today's sub-theme is managing change in a complex environment. So linking transformative leadership to managing change. What I envision is that you see, we have got leadership styles, different sources of authority. So firstly, authoritative leadership, and then charismatic leadership, and then transformative leadership. Authoritative leadership is something which all of us here enjoy. We have got some authority, we have got a chair. So law and custom empowers us to do something or not to do something. There's authoritative leadership. But this authoritative leadership is not always very much effective. People don't own something. But when we have got big targets like Vision 2041, we have got SDG 2030 to achieve within a short period of time. We have to double our efforts, and sometimes we have to treble our efforts. So that will entail huge changes everywhere, and moreover, the changing world, the changing technology, and changing economic and political circumstances require more changes. So adaptation to changes for betterment is essential. So how to cope with the changes? How to motivate people to change, people to upgrade. So that's our focus of the discussion today. We are very pleased to have our Honorable Principal Secretary, Mr. Nazimur Rahman, to have as our keynote speaker. Now I would invite our Honorable Principal Secretary to make his presentation.
Distinguished Cabinet Secretary, distinguished Principal Coordinator SDGs, and a very rich panel. I'm seeing everyone. I could imagine the former Principal Secretary, the leader from the industry, and the former Governor Bangladesh Bank, the current Chairman of BPSC, the former CNAG, and my esteemed colleagues, senior secretaries, and other colleagues. A very good morning. It is indeed a very important opportunity for me to share some thoughts on the issue of change management in complex environment and Bangladesh perspective. But let me share with you some secrets. One of the planners of the policy dialogue is, as you could imagine, the principal coordinator for SDGs. He had a designated keynote speaker who at the very final moment basically opted out because of circumstances unknown to all of us. So then I was approached and I agreed, remembering that I visited the PLC back in 2007 almost talking on the same subject. And when I asked my GIU colleagues to please find out the slides from that presentation, along with a very brand new presentation I made for the most recent recruits, colleagues belonging to 36 batch. One of my favorite batches because I'm sharing with them a lot of issues that corresponds to change management. So it will be a blend of old, new and futuristic slides. But we have agreed last night that will not be very much formal in this session. It will not be basically a classroom lecture, it's a policy dialogue. So we'll move in such a manner that towards the end will be very interactive. Allow me to begin what we normally do by paying each tribute to the father of the nation, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. We are basically pursuing to establish a golden Bangla, a dream, the just, and the very capable God rightly connected us with the Vision 2021. He mentioned about SDG 2030, which is Honorable Prime Minister, one of the favorite topics because he is one of the few leaders in the world who were part of both the Millennium Development Goals process, the Millennium Summit in 2000, and the Sustainable Goals discourse that was culminated as SDG adoption in towards the end of 2015. So this time when we went to New York, Honorable Prime Minister delivered a statement and she connected the SDGs with the statement of the Father of the Nation, which was his maiden speech at the UN. And you all know this because you have been discussing this. He said, let us together create a world that can eradicate poverty, hunger, war and human sufferings and achieve global peace and security for the well-being of humanity. So, speaking in 1974, he made this very futuristic statement, which is very relevant to all the organs of the United Nations. Whatever the UN agency, any UN agency you come across, you say they are talking about this thing. So I think this is a very important background information for our country. She's a change maker. And she is pursuing a very bold development path, full of challenges, but she is showing her leadership, leading by good examples, overcoming all the challenges. Basically, these two leaders would be our role models for what kind of, for any kind of discussion that we undertake, whether in this room or anywhere outside of this room. One who envisions the golden Bangla, and the other one who is basically attaining the golden Bangla. And you are an important part of this journey. As we talk about change management, normally we say change management is not a destination, it is a journey. And they say journey is not that difficult, but the first step is. I'm looking now towards my left and right, thanking my colleagues for organizing such a policy dialogue, which will definitely bring us at a level that we can talk the same language as enshrined in our constitution. The civil service and the public service at the end of the day will have to be serving the people of the country. So I don't want to be very theoretical here. I have decided to pursue an empirical approach. While we, during the course of my discussion, I'll be referring to some examples that are available in this region. For example, from Singapore, from Republic of Korea. You all know that public administration is emerging. I'm seeing in this class the people who did their masters and maybe PhDs in public administration. So it is needless to elaborate on this, but we have arrived at a stage which is characterized by a paradigm from governance paradigm. And governance, in the governance paradigm, you are required to be result oriented in order to maximize the services that the political leadership want you to achieve. And as you know that every time during election, the parties, they publish the election manifesto and they go for popular mandate. And the party that is elected to the power becomes the government of the day, and its election manifesto becomes the strategic plan for the country. So that's basically the environment that we see around us. So as the senior policymakers, you know very well how government works and who are the stakeholders within the government. The main stakeholders are the citizens. The owner of the governmental process is the people of the country. The civil society, as you know, is an important element of the environment. We live in a globalized world. Media is an important factor. The hearing secretary was sharing with us his experience with the media yesterday. The new technologies. And nowadays, when we listen to the industry leaders like Madam Nihat Kabir, they talk about disruptive technologies, social media, Twitter, and the kind of artificial intelligence. One of my favorite subjects, artificial intelligence versus human ingenuity, also AI versus HI. And the businesses, the leader is present here. We are seeing the former central bank governor used to facilitate business. And I'm seeing the CNG, distinguished CNG, who is to audit all of us. So this is the governmental system just to understand our environment. These are the models. It's very theoretical, but gives you the element. If you look at the extreme left and extreme right hand side, we say that the whole environment is evolving. The citizen-state relationship is now characterized by empowerment. You will have to empower your people. That's what we call the human rights-based approach to development. If you meet a people person who is not aware of his right, his or her right, you are required to empower him or her with that right, and also teach him or her how to claim that right. And you then submit yourself to some sort of accountability. So the accountability of senior officials and governance paradigm is towards the citizens and stakeholders. Organizational characteristics is leadership. As the moderator rightly said, we are talking about transformative leadership. He underlined the issues of authoritative leadership, charismatic leadership. We are not talking about transformative leadership where you will have to be persuasive. So that's what the senior officials are required to do. For the public service under the governance paradigm, the guiding principles are accountability, transparency, and participation. Accountability is the buzzword in the days we are living through now. criteria for success is the outcome. And, we are practicing this for last 3-4 years under the annual performance agreement system that has been introduced, government performance management system. Key attribute is responsiveness. This is where the Bangladesh public service is required to perform better. We are not yet that responsive to the need of the citizens, neither to the need of the citizens, nor to the call of the political leaders. And many times we confuse ourselves with the elements of public administration and public management. We tend to be very much rule bound, and the prime principles remain that if you want to delay the process, you will have to delay it. But in order to be a full-fledged actor in the governance paradigm, for you, you have to make everything that is possible to achieve results, to fast track the process, and sometimes what we say, produce something out of nothing, making impossible possible. And remembering Nelson Mandela, he used to say, everything seems impossible until it is done. So there used to be a time when we were taught by our forerunners that show some excuse, be tactful. So those days are basically gone now. Your political leaders will be judging by the kind of positive attitude that you show to any guidance that they give, because they are at the end of the day responsible to the citizens. And every 5 years there would be a renewal of mandate. We are heading towards December, and you are listening to our Prime Minister. She is making a statement, জনগণ ভোট দিলে আছি, না দিলে নাই, কোনো আক্ষেপ নাই. So she has almost prepared her own narratives. I say, আপনি তো কবিতা বানিয়ে করছেন, জনগণ দিলে আছি, না দিলে নাই, কোনো আক্ষেপ নাই. So that's the kind of political leadership she is showing. But when her tenure will be judged at the end of the day, all of you will have either reasons for either to celebrate or to think that whether you played your part well or not. This is basically a soul-searching question. This is not witch hunting. The cabinet secretary, the mobile secretary, the principal secretary, when they evaluate the performance, you are dependent on the externalities on which you don't have control. So as the secretary, you will have to prepare your own backups, pull together a new alternative thinking. So colleagues, the pitch of this governance model is what we call the whole of the government approach. And that's the centerpiece of the policy dialogue. It's not an one-to-one dialogue, it's a collective dialogue, because all of us together can either win or fail, depending on the mode of our activity. If we cooperate, if we coordinate, then we do better. If we ensure coherence, then the people get better services. If you become little bit more courageous, then the results will even be bigger. And in order to be courageous, you have to have you have to listen to what the people say, the message of the heart. You have to have the commitment. And so the civil servants are required to do a lot of. He said she was a business person. So St. Peter said, send her to the heaven. She has experienced enough of hell on the earth. So you have a place in the heaven. Then came the second person. And the St. Peter asked, what did you do for living on the earth? He said, I was a civil servant. Immediately St. Peter said, send him to the hell he has been or she has been used to. So that's your life. That's your life. So, colleagues, when you talk about change management and other issues, and when you know your destiny, then at the end of the day, skills, technical skills and human skills. And the transformative leaders, they underline the issues of human skills. It is what is known as the qualities of head and heart. I became a diplomat by accident. When I joined the foreign service back in 1988 as a deputationist or something like that, the diplomacy was known to be predominantly the political diplomacy. And you would be advised to combine your head and heart together. But then with the advent of globalization, the economic diplomacy became predominant. And then you were required to combine the qualities of head, heart, and stomach together. The stomach is basically reminds you of poor people. When a person can earn 3 square meals, goes to the bed hungry, or the other day there was that quiz that I received, that in a family there were 4 persons, but there were only meals for 3 people. So I asked my younger son that someone said in the family that that individual is not hungry. So I asked my younger son who would be that individual. He said it would be Amu. Because when you have 4 people and only meal of 3, then only the ladies and mothers who opt out. So these are the issues that when you talk about stomach, you are reminded of people. And that's where the issues of accountability comes in. And that is why I'm reminding you of the challenges that we will be facing in the days ahead on the issues of efficiency versus effective. You may keep yourself busy 9 to 5, but maybe at the end of the day, nothing is going to the people. So you have to be mindful of how to be responsive and producing results for people. So that's why the governance paradigm basically brings us to a stage where we talk about not about outputs, whatever we produce in papers, letters, but make sure that letter is reaching to the office and that person is following up, taking the food to the disaster affected area in the coastal. So colleagues, these are the background. Now I'm exposing you to Singapore situation, and many of you have been exposed to the Singapore situation, where they underline the changing role of senior public servants. They say the change, and more change is the order of the day. You have to be mindful of what to change, how to survive change, and how to succeed in change. And my last slide I'm telling you now is basically something I would ask you to remember, that only change is permanent, other things are temporary in our lives. So every day we are changing. And thank you, Rector DPATC, for enabling us to lead through the change process, because Dhaka life is different from Shabar's life. We are feeling the difference. So how is the world changing? It's changing because of globalization, because of technology, especially nowadays. Innovative technologies, disruptive technologies, innovation, politics, economics, these are all important factors. How is the world changing? Due to globalization, technology, innovation, economics, politics. So you are required to accelerate change in your work environment. What is the citizens' perspective at this stage? They demand change. whenever you come across a visitor, he wants something, but you say you have to do it differently. Then he says, sir, why don't you also do it differently? So there is always a dialogue. I've seen the successful change managers, they take up those questions and challenges and take it to your advantage as well. You go out of the box. Out of the box is a phenomenon that is demanded to the senior leaders in order to pursue change management. So the citizens, as you know, nowadays are different citizens. Young people, they are dominating the world of social media. Elderly people, they require specialized services. Social welfare ministry has to look after the elderly people, and migration is an important issue. Education, those days when our forefathers were serving the people were not educated enough. But nowadays, you know, you are facing a citizen who are more educated. Healthcare is an issue. And yesterday you have heard that Bangladesh has officially surpassed India in respect of not only social indicators but also economic indicators. So in these circumstances, there is more need for good healthcare services. Employment is the key word. The success or failure of government depends on the kind of an amount of jobs it creates for its young people. And housing is, as you know, in our government, Honorable Prime Minister is emphasizing on housing for all issues. So, how is the role of the government changing? These are the slides for you not to hear, but to see on your own and understand what are the changes. There was a time when governments were required to defend the society, but this role started evolving. The governments are now required to create opportunities. You have to also provide identity of your people, issuing them passport, national ID card, smart card. These are the issues. You have to build the community feelings, observe, account you. While doing this, you don't have to be oblivious of the rules and regulations. You have to be working within the rules and regulation. So in Singapore model, they call it hope plus hope. The country is like hope and memory. So on the government changing rules, there are traditional works that you are required to do, like providing security, maintaining macroeconomic stability and other things. But again now, you have to provide rice cooker to the village women, because nowadays they don't want to use lakdi for cooking purpose. So they don't want to. You have to also be mindful of the concern from the environment secretary. No chopping of wood would be allowed. So these are the issues you deal with this. My job is here to basically to provoke you on what amount of change you can undertake within your respective jurisdiction. Here you have to again mindful of the fact that we started our career at a time when we used to consider ourselves as a regulator and provider. Then we evolved through a process of nurturer and facilitator. During my time in NBR, I used to say that I facilitate business. But we are in all our ministries and divisions and institutions, the government is nowadays required to play the role of convener and aggregator. You will have to pursue a whole of the government approach, a fit for purpose methodology. For that, you will have to be consultative. So many a time we see papers coming to us well drafted, but the question that we ask is whether you have consulted your stakeholders or not. So we are seeing that there are phenomenal changes in the way we are working. Singaporeans, they believe that you have to welcome change, you have to anticipate change, you have to execute change. That's basically the three pillars in Singapore public service. Welcoming change, convincing public officers. I think this is a narrative that you can share with your colleagues. This would be your take-home messages, take office messages for countries like Republic of Korea. They always measure the amount of change they make. So you see that they talk in time. While scrolling through my slides, I'm emphasizing the need of innovation. Nowadays, organizations are seen as innovative learning organizations, where you are pursuing a common vision like Vision 2021, but you are also pursuing your shared responsibility. Everyone plays a role. There is no opportunity for free riding. There is no opportunity for free riding. These slides will tell you how the things are evolving. We started our career seeing the citizens as subjects. Now, currently they are our partner. In future, they will be the owner, as already mentioned. There was a mindset that the administrator used to see themselves as rulers. Now you are the truly public servant. So that's basically the paradigm shift that's happening across different governance models. I will be skipping the slides. There are a lot of Bangladeshi examples for change management and change process. You are the author of that process because you are implementing in everywhere, in power division, in rural development, in local government, in ICT, everywhere. You are required to reduce red tape, improve service delivery, engaging public servants to create public value or result for citizens. Change is the word. There are, I think I'll be failing in my duty if I don't share some points of optimism. Nowadays we are seeing the civil services attracting the best and the brightest. Thanks to Honorable Prime Minister for her commitment to enhance the compensation packages for the civil service. 123% raise in the salary is a case in point. Internal demand for change is increasing. Nowadays we are receiving young colleagues who are known as the millennial kids. They talk less, they work more, they always look at their technology. So those are the people that you are getting as your assistant secretary or as assistant commissioner. So I think we have to be mindful of this, and our private sector leaders are more enlightened. And if you bear with me, there was a time when we used to interact with people like Mr. Akijuddin. Now see the new generation of Mr. Akijuddin. I have worked with many of them. They are now their tobacco has gone to Japan now. So the way the transformative changes in the business is phenomenal. Our aim, I think, the principal coordinators' favorite topics are this: how Vision 2021 and government interface and government innovation interface. Honorable Prime Minister is leading by very good example. We have already last March, 22nd of March, we celebrated our graduation. This is my last slide. how to become a change maker, basically. My thinking of 7 golden rooms, and you have seen that we have discussed all of them already. Anticipate change, be mindful of disruptive technologies, welcome change, change not only for change's sake, change for results, ensure public's welfare, underline and overcome challenges. There will be always issues. You will have to address them. Make positive change. It has to be. I have put an indicator in NBR that whoever comes to NBR must return with smile in his or her face. There's the positive change you want to get. Remain confident in the face of changing circumstances. There will be a lot of challenges, but as transformative leaders, you have to be very confident in braving those challenges. But never fight the fight alone. Form a coalition with other change makers. Do it together. I think this policy dialogue is the beginning of a coalition in academic context. So colleagues, the learning point that we clearly see from it, there is nothing permanent in this world except change. And as you know that we are moving through the layers of change. Vision 21, SDGs 2030, 2041, development vision, and then 2071 will be celebrating the centenary of our independence. And Honorable Prime Minister's newest gift to the young generation is the Bangladesh Delta Plan. She is a very charismatic leader, combining elements of good qualities of head, heart, and stomach. And every day she surprises us. Whoever walks around her, like all of you, you know that she is an instant innovator, and you are her secretary and senior secretary. So you will have to be in your most transformative. Thank you for your passion hearing, and thank you, moderator, for allowing me some extra allowance. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Very thought-provoking. Our sincere thank you to our Principal Secretary. Now we are talking about transformative leadership. I think we need to give a little more light on transformative leadership. Who is a transformative leader? Transformative leader is a leader who leads from front. Transformative leader who goes beyond boundaries, above silo mentalities, who builds bridges, who creates example, who brings his people to make his dream a reality. So this is the vision of a transformative leader as opposed to an authoritative leader. Authoritative leader is a rule bound and maintains a status quo, doesn't try to improve things, doesn't change anything. So that's what we are talking about transformative leadership. Anyway, we have got only representative from private sector here today, Barrister Nihar Kavi. Now I invite Barrister Nihar.
A very good morning to all of you. It's a great honor and a privilege to be here today. I think this is my first visit to the PATC, where, of course, the best and brightest of our students, our young people are trained to become the leaders of our public administration. I'm not only perhaps the only person from the private sector, Dr. Giroman. I'm taking you into my side. But I do think that I'm perhaps the youngest person present here, or one of the youngest, maybe one or two people perhaps there. So please excuse the enthusiasm and, dare I say, the arrogance perhaps of youth in what I will say, and hear me out. Today, sitting here with me and in front of me is a very, very large part of over the decades since our independence, and now since our independence, because I think our independence officers are no longer there they retire. You've been doing a job and doing it despite many, many limitations. And for the most part, that job has been very well done, and sometimes perhaps not so well done. So whenever there is a policy dialogue like this, I am inclined to ask, the first question I'm inclined to ask is that why are we having this dialogue in terms of when we should have had it? And I'm at least very glad that at a very critical juncture in our nation's history, we are having this conversation. So why do we need to change our traditional manner of public administration? You're all here, as I've said, you are doing a certain work in a certain manner, which has the sanction of maybe not just years and decades, but centuries of precedents. Several of you here present know that first and foremost I'm a lawyer, and for a lawyer precedence has great meaning. And you also in your work follow precedent. So why are we having this talk about transformation? Our system of administration has evolved over centuries. We can go to the pre-Mughal times, but if we look at the Mughal times and then we look at the colonial times, the British colonial time, the Pakistan short but severe Pakistan colonial era, and then into our evolution as an independent country. And this is where the issue from the private sector, we look at it. We look at the issue of constitutionalism. We look at the concept that citizens are created equal, and that people are endowed with certain inalienable rights. Governments are instituted in order to preserve these rights, and in order to help in the flowering of what we are, of our spirit, the embodiment of our spirit, to help us achieve the highest that we can as individuals. The constitutionality or constitutionalism also partially prevents governments from expanding their own power by creating a system of check and balances to the separation of powers. It is this evolution of our state from monarchy through feudalism, colonialism to today's democratic people's republic, which necessitates the evolution of our system of governance and administration, and hence we need to talk about change. Historically, the need and design of public administration in our country was for control, and usually for control from a distance, be it from Delhi, be it from London, be it from Islamabad. But today the need is for partnership. Now, once we know why we are having this dialogue, and our Principal Secretary has given a very elaborate presentation on why we need it, the change itself is a matter of design, the how of it, and we can do that. Again, to go back a little bit, we all know the facts of our existence, the overwhelming numbers which challenge us in Bangladesh. We have a huge population, we have a small landmass, we have few natural resources, we have a very vulnerable topography. We are the country which is the second most threatened, I believe, by climate change, if not the most. We have a young population that could as well prove to be a demographic disaster as a demographic dividend, unless we can give the youth the opportunity to express itself well in its life and in its work. The challenges of providing quality education in the quantity that we need, healthcare, housing, food, these challenges are enormous. And over the years we have seen that the size of our budget, the size of our economy has expanded. And can we deal with this? Can we deal with this if we continue in our traditional methods of decision making and of implementation of decisions? As far as the private sector is concerned, I will unequivocally say that no, we cannot. The rate of change that we need, the rate of growth that we need, that cannot come from what we have been doing the way we have been doing. We cannot be complacent about saying, oh, we've had 6.5% growth for the last 20 years and we're going to have 6.5% growth for the next 20 years. That is not enough. Therefore, from the private sector's point of view, definitely this dialogue is essential. Now, I will also ask you to look at this from a slightly different point of view. We have had the privilege, the historical privilege in Bangladesh of having had two of the greatest change-making leaders in history. And I have absolutely no hesitation in saying that. One is the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Prior to 1971, in the 60s and the 50s, nobody would have thought that we, in this landmass, our people could have been given an identity. That is ours, and that is an identity which today is respected across the country with vision, strength, and above all, courage. The courage to think, I want to take my people and I am going to do it, regardless. That courage, and she has basically forced us, she has challenged us to change. Not just you in the public sector, but us in the private sector. And those of us who have had the privilege of interacting with her, we have been challenged every step of the way. We have had to get out of our comfort zones, and we have had the country. What we have done with our resources, not a single other country in such a short time. Difficult odds. And I have absolute private sector, she has made us realize that if we keep doing things the way we have, forward. Now, in Bangladesh, private sector has a legendary entrepreneurship, a kind of risk-taking, take-no-prisoners leadership, which has got us today to where we are. Initially, with help from a handful of visionary politicians and a handful of visionary members of the public administration. On the momentum of itself. And today, the idea of dialogue and partnership between the public and private sector has replaced the original idea of control and an adversarial relationship. There's always been this talk. Let me give you an example as a much younger member of the Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I walked on to a meeting where mid-level civil servant said, private sector কাজই তো হচ্ছে চুরি করা আপনারা ঠকাবার জন্য সব কিছু করেন I must say I was much more hot-tempered at that moment and I had an absolute fit about it and I said that you need to change your mindset. I am happy to say that in the last two and a half decades that I have been involved in this, that mindset has changed. It is today a question of partnership. But that still remains to be the biggest challenge. The mindset has not changed as fast as we need it to. Here, PATC has a seminal role to play in this. When the young, new civil servants come here, please involve us, the private sector, in your training. Let us set the dialogue, let us set the tone of the partnership from day one. Technology is one thing that is lending a huge impetus to this change. When there is a conflict between your traditional processes and the processes demanded by technology, technology is not changing, your processes are changing. And in order to change those processes, your mindsets also are changing, and they need to change faster. In the public sector, in the private sector, we are told often that our job is to do away with our job. Our job is to institute policies, processes, and systems such that whatever outcome we want will happen whether we as an individual are there or not. That also needs to happen, I believe, in the public sector. One couple of last things, and I see the moderator waving a piece of paper at me with 2 minutes written on it. Our aim is to do the best for the largest number of our citizens. But we must always remember that groups are made of individuals, and each individual has placed his or her rights as a citizen in your hands to do his or her work, not just like that. Through the mechanism of the Constitution, Jonagon Shakal Khamata Richu, through the legislature, executive, and judiciary, and ultimately, I as a citizen have given my power and my for itself. Its only reason for being there is I, the individual citizen. As the Principal Secretary has said very clearly, the relationship of citizen and state today has to be based on empowerment, not control anymore. And this brings me to two of my most favorite topics as a lawyer and as a citizen. One is the concept of limited government, government of checks and balances through rule of law. The mechanisms are put in that the vision of our leadership is not cut down to the level of the lowest common denominator, where the vision of the leadership is executed in its entirety and holistically. And the last thing that I would like to mention is one of my favorite theories in jurisprudence. This is Rawls's theory of justice. The Rawlsian theory of justice is that if you had to choose, if you had to make a decision from behind the veil of ignorance, what would you do? You would make a decision which would, if you were not in the position of privilege that you are today, which would be of the maximum benefit to you. There's a story in Bangladesh, সহজ করে বলি। বাবা রসগোল্লা নিয়ে এসেছিলেন, দুই ছেলেকে দিয়ে বলেছিলেন একজন দুই ভাগ করবে, কিন্তু যে ভাগ করবে সে চুজ করবে না, অন্য ছেলে চুজ করবে। তো পাঁচটা রসগোল্লা যদি তিনটার দিকে দুটার দিকে দিয়ে রাখো, তুমি দিতে পারো, কিন্তু যে দেবে সে তিনটা দেবে। You make a decision, we make a decision, we make a choice which will place us on as equal a footing as far as possible. So that when the shoe changes, when you are no longer the leader of the public administration, when I am no longer the leader of the business community, we are still treated equally and with equity as citizens of this country. We have set a goal, our leaders have set a goal, we will travel towards it and we shall not leave anybody behind. And that is why we need transformational leadership. গতানুগতিক যা করে এসেছি গত 600 বছর ধরে, আগামী 6 বছরেও সেটা করলে আমাদের চলবে না। That is where this dialogue for me is so important, and I am very, very grateful to have been made a part of this, and I would once again request humbly that this dialogue should be an ongoing process. Thank you very much.
Now we have got as panelist Dr. Akhil Rahman, former governor of Bangladesh Bank. Now I invite Dr. Akhil Rahman